Sarah and her father clean up their summer cottage after it is vandalized by squatters. But during their first night in the house, they hear noises from the upstairs. When her father disappears, Sarah must fight for both their lives against an unimaginable terror in Silent House.
So today it's very exciting because we have our first guest reviewer, Kevin Taft of Edge Media Network. Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background?
I'm a freelance critic for Edge Media Network, and I do also theater reviews for a couple of publications and interviews and different types of articles, and also a screenwriter.
Silent House, we've all just seen it. Sean, why don't you start us off?
So Silent House is a remake of a film from Uruguay called La Casa Muda, which translates to The Silent House. It's told in what is supposedly a single take. So akin to Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, we have a camera that's supposed to appear as an unbroken shot, a full 88-minute shot with no edits whatsoever.
What I liked about this was that it is a typical horror film setup where it's very simple. But in this case, it's such a relatable fear. We've all been in a house, we've all been alone, and we've all heard stuff. And for me, I was in at that point.
I'm a big fan of something like the original When a Stranger Calls with Carol Kane, where she's just trapped in a house, at least in the first 20 minutes, with an unseen presence who's trying to break in. And I kind of perked up with this movie in the first act because I felt like this is what this is going to present to us. Here's Elizabeth Olsen. She's trapped in a house with this guy trying to get her, and that's pretty scary. And then in the last quarter of the movie, we start to have certain things break from that grounded realism. There's in-camera flashbacks, if you will. There's certain things that are most likely hallucinations.
I also wonder, though, if we go back and look at it again, if now knowing what we know, if we could actually figure it out, which is kind of the fun of it, and which is why I kind of did like it once I thought about it.
It warrants a second viewing.
Yeah, I wanted to know more, and I wanted to see, like, what were they doing? I wanted to figure them out.
I love Lizzie Olsen, but I couldn't get past remembering her and Martha, Marcy May, Marlene. To me, we start out the film with that same deer in headlights look at her, like that shell shock quality that she brought to Martha, Marcy May, Marlene. Yeah. Regardless, I thought it was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed. And maybe this is stretching it a bit much, but I think had it been released at a different time, it would also get her at least some Oscar buzz. I was exhausted watching her, but in a good way. I mean, I was like, wow, I was just fascinated by her.
She did make all the other actors look bad, though, because she was so fantastic. They have this awkwardness whenever they're on screen with her.
Right.
You find out why at the end of the film. Possibly.
This is basically a one-woman show for Elizabeth Olsen. And one of the things that's most impressive to me about that performance is even the best actors out there, editing is their friend. You can take this take and combine it with that take and create a performance. And when you're dealing with a movie that's essentially one shot, your actress has to be delivering it 100% all the time.
In the press materials, they admit that it's not actually one take, just long takes strung together. But it's still impressive because they're really long takes.
And our directors, Kentis and Laura Lau, are no stranger to unorthodox shooting conditions. Right. They did Open Water, which is a film that is entirely set in an abandoned spot in the ocean.
What's interesting is that because horror films are so often the victims of editing where, you know, they throw a cat out at you and you jump and that's the scare. But here you really didn't know quite where to look.
And this single take idea is a difficult beast to deal with. Even Hitchcock dismissed it as an experiment that didn't work out. Because you can't rely, like with performance, you can't rely on editing to shape scares, to shape tension. Most of the movie are these long takes where you just sort of have to rely on your performance from your lead actress and the atmosphere that this movie's creating. You can't intensify anything by chopping up the edit.
It's called Silent House, but sound is integral. And we actually interviewed Glenn T. Morgan, the supervising sound designer and editor, about his experience working with the film. And I know that they provided him a floor plan of the entire house so that he could help design each various room and, you know, how the footsteps sound in the downstairs versus the footsteps and how they sound upstairs. And it's just astounding how each of the department heads communicated with each other and collaborated to form this very effective horror film. All right, so let's take it to a vote. Why don't we take our tickets?
Taut and suspenseful, with a great performance by Elizabeth Olsen. It may confuse some, but they will still appreciate the technical skill at work. See it.
An inventive twist on the horror thriller genre with a one-take gimmick that actually works. See it.
substantial and interesting horror film that will keep you thinking. See it.
So our votes add up to 3 tickets. So that's an enthusiastic see it for Silent House.
Yay!
Cheers.
Cheers.
Did I do that good?
You did well.
Not really.
Shut up.